So with 180 days left to CAT 2023, we thought that it was high time that we discussed everything about the CAT paper and more specifically about the VARC section. So of course today, me, Abhilasha, and my very dear colleague Arvind, we are going to be talking to you about the VARC section of CAT 2023. Hello everybody.
Hello everyone.
Arvind.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Very fine. So lovely day today to talk about CAT, huh?
Absolutely. And I think we are just at the right moment wherein students can strategize, what they want to do and how they want to crack CAT 2023.
Absolutely.
Specifically with regards to the most important section, as I would call it, VARC.
Yeah.
So basically, just to get an insight, I think we are all aware that there are 24 questions in this section, out of which there are 16 questions that are there in reading comprehension. There are 4 passages, 4 questions each, and then there are 8 questions between para jumbles, para summaries, and para completion. So I think the students, CAT has been, in terms of the 8 questions, it's not very clear what number of questions will be asked on these 3.
True.
But
Also, that they keep changing the type of questions. If you realize, from 2015 till 2021, we had para jumbles, para summary, and odd one out. And suddenly last year CAT threw such a big surprises at us in terms of the para completion questions. So last year they threw out the odd one out questions completely and brought in the para completion questions. Now the question here for us is also whether they'll be continuing with the para completion questions or will they be throwing them out and bringing back the odd one in
so the
type
best
of
strategy
questions.
is to be prepared.
Yes,
because we never really can figure out what surprises they are going to throw us at.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, interestingly, Arvind, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, how much time does it really require to prepare for CAT? Because of course it's a tough exam, it's a heavy exam, it's very reading intensive.
Right.
So for an exam like that, how much time should a person devote?
See, it depends from one individual to the other, because when we look at students, there are a lot of students who have already read a lot. They come from backgrounds wherein their spoken English is already very good, they have a good command on vocabulary, and then there are some who really need to longer time in terms of their preparation. So I would say anything from 1 year to 5 or 6 months, I think, depending on which stage of preparation the student is at. That is what I would recommend.
Yeah, I think so too. So depending on a person, let's say somebody is coming from a very rural kind of a background, maybe Hindi medium or any vernacular medium, then you would require at least a year, guys, so that you can catch up on your reading part. That's absolutely essential.
Yeah, one of the issues that we see in our classes is that some of the students, as Abhilasha said, coming from rural backgrounds or vernacular medium schools, they have a tough time, at least initially, when they try to catch up with the rest of the students because of their command on English. And I think they need that extra amount of period to prep for CAT.
So if you are somebody who's not really very good or not really very conversant at reading, then that's where you need to begin from. So therefore a little longer time. If you're somebody who's already updated with their reading, you're doing it regularly, then you need around 5 to 6 months, like Arvind said, to just catch up on the types of questions and work at it. So yeah, well said.
Absolutely.
5 to 6 months to maybe a year is a good time. And how much time should you give every day to your VARC preparation?
See, a lot of students decide that while they are in their graduating or their second years or third years, they also take up the CAT prep. So for such students, I would suggest anything between 2 to 3 hours over a period of 8 to 10 months is sufficient. And also doing a lot of mocks, taking a lot of mocks, that is also very critical, because that gives them a very good understanding of the test pattern. And I think 6 to 8 months of serious 2 to 3 hours sort of preparation for me, I think, would be sufficient for a student who's already
Also, I feel if you're giving in about an hour a day to reading, then that is something that's really, really helpful. Because of course, like we always say, this exam is very reading intensive. So every single day of your preparation, guys, you should be spending on reading. Now that could be any type of reading. So you could be reading a newspaper, you could be reading articles from different sources, or you could just be reading a novel. There is no ban on any type, any author, any genre. You could be reading from anywhere. Of
In
course,
fact,
we love it when you
yeah,
read
true.
from those specific sources from where CAT will take the RCs. But read anything, you will find it'll improve your reading competition. I'm so sorry, I just...
No, in fact, well, some of the students come to me at least at the initial levels of preparation, and they ask me what are the things they can read.
Right.
And there are a lot of students who have only read textbooks all their lives, and they have
Correct.
not really read anything beyond their textbooks. So for such students, I suggest that anything that you like or you have an affinity for, you know, if you are a sports person, you can start with reading about sports. If you like about reading about literature, movies, I mean, decide what you want to read. So at least first 2-3 weeks, you read something beyond your textbooks, and that's a good start. And once that happens, you take it up to reading newspapers, as you mentioned, reading articles from various sources. And these days, I think kids have so much to read from, and you know, you just have your phone
Just
and your hand.
bring out your phone and
Absolutely.
get at it.
Absolutely.
The most important thing is that you must get started right away, guys. If you haven't yet started, it is time to start your preparation.
In fact,
Get on
these
with it.
days, you know, I suggest to a lot of students who are having some difficulty at the initial level, I tell them, you know, one of the best things that you can do is get accustomed with English is to
Right.
watch some series with subtitles.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, when you listen to English, it flows, and then you become more comfortable, more conversant. So you obviously have to read, but you can also watch a lot of English news on television. You can watch series, and I think that will also hold you in good state. And one thing is, you obviously have to start conversing in English, because
Absolutely.
that you can't
Absolutely.
escape. Right?
You just can't escape that, because even if you crack the exam, you
There
still
is-
have the PDP phase to cross. So that's going to be
Absolutely.
life and death. So make sure that you're doing that too. So one question that is there in my mind is that now that there is so little time for CAT, somebody who's starting their preparation for reading comprehension, what is it that they should be doing? Arvind, why don't you throw some light on that, because you're such an expert on reading comprehension.
What I suggest, as we discussed, is that the aspirant should start reading, and start reading from a variety of sources. So how that helps is, because and for all of us who've seen CAT papers in the last couple of years, there are a lot of abstract topics that CAT throws at you. There are a lot of topics dealing with philosophy, things that we are not really very comfortable with. So I would suggest probably going on the net and probably Googling Aeon essays or something like that. That's a very good source of a lot of different material. And students can get accustomed to reading from a variety of sources, and also start taking some initial tests. How that will help is that, and whenever you're taking a test, just time yourself in terms of the number of minutes that it takes for you to read the passage, the number of minutes that are needed to answer the questions. My strategy is that, to crack good colleges in CAT, the most important thing is you get a good score. So CAT is not looking at you to understand 100% of the text that is out there. Because if you set out with that objective, it's not really going to give you a great score. So you have to cull out your questions with a limited understanding and the most important part of the passage. So you don't set out yourself to understand 100% of the passage. That is not really the idea. The idea is to understand the main ideas, the secondary ideas, the inferences, the tonalities, and which will help you really making the right inferences, setting your score to a very high, high number, whatever. So I think that will be a good start. Start from basic passages, then with time keep moving up the chain. As I said, Aeon essays is a good source. And besides that, whenever you're taking a mock, time yourself. and see that you are not unduly taking a lot of time in reading the passages. In fact, we discuss a lot of strategies, and we will take some time out maybe in some other session, how sometimes it is even better to read the questions first and then read the passages. So basically what you are looking out for, and you are not wasting your time reading just about everything. As we discussed, speed is also very critical. So start timing yourself, and over a period of time you're with an enhanced vocabulary, that is something that needs to be done. I think your speed will go up, and so will your score. So I think that will be a good start.
Absolutely. Another section, or the other section of your CAT VARC, is the verbal ability portion, where you have 3 types of questions that are coming in. You are already aware of them. That's the para jumbles, that's the para summaries, and also the para completion. We will not forget to prepare about odd one outs, because we don't know if they're going to come back this year or not.
Right.
So for anyone who's preparing for the verbal ability section, it is essential that you prepare for all 4 types. Don't forget to prepare for the odd ones out. Now, as you already know, the para jumble questions are probably some of the trickiest questions that you have, because you don't get options. Now that's a good thing, that's a bad thing too. The good thing is that there are no negative marks for the parajumble questions, because it's a theta question, right? Theta means type in the answer. You get a box at the end of the question, and you're just supposed to key in the correct answer. But that also brings the problem of not having an option to choose from. So let's say it's a 4-sentence para-jumble, you'll end up with so many options.
True.
So that is the trick there, that you pick up the right pairing and you're able to find the right flow. Now for finding the right flow, therefore that is why reading is so important. It's really, really critical that you're well read, you're able to understand how the writers write and what their flow of thought could be. So that's then very, very important. Same thing is also important for para completion. Now a lot of people will think that para completion is actually a different type of question. Not really. If you look at the para completions this time, they gave you a sentence and they gave you 4 places within the passage where you could fit this sentence. So essentially it's a question of which 2 sentences, between which 2 sentences this sentence is going to fit in.
Absolutely.
So it's actually a para jumble disguised as a filler, So the better you are at para jumbles, the better you will be at para completion, or for that matter odd one out also, because that is also a subsidiary question of the para jumble.
So what would you suggest, Abhilasha, that how do students really prep up their themselves for these 8 questions? Because in terms of scoring, I think it's a very scoring section.
Any question, okay, this is just a general tip for all of you. The questions that do not have negatives, the theta questions, whichever section they're coming in, do attend them, because it's a no profit, no loss situation. So always do your theta questions. And because in English all the theta questions are coming in the VA section, that's your must attempt, must do section. Do make sure that you're doing all the parajumbles, because what's the worst that can happen? You'll get them wrong. But if you get them right, there's like huge gains to be had.
And with this section, with little effort, the gains in terms what you get in terms of score, I think that you cannot compare with any other section.
No,
and that is
cannot.
the advantage, of getting this section absolutely right.
The practice is very, very important in this section. It's all about practice. So the more you practice, the better you will get. Try to, when you're doing your practice, whenever you're reading something, try to spot what's the introductory sentence in a passage or in a set of sentences that you get. That's where the entire game will begin from. So that is very important. Learn how to create mandatory pairs. That's also very, very important.
Absolutely.
So the last type of question we missed out on that were the para summary questions. So the para summary questions, guys, do make sure that whenever you're reading anything, let's say you read a paragraph, at the end of the paragraph in one line, write down what you have understood from that paragraph. This will help you with your para summary.
Taking the analogy, I always tell my students, especially those for the RC section, that we need to start doing this para summarizations, these mini summarizations after every paragraph. So what happens is at the end of a 4-paragraph or a 5-paragraph section or passage,
Yeah.
you know, you only have 3 or 4 important points to remember rather than cluttering your head with
True,
50
true.
different things. So that's absolutely. So when you're reading editorials, when you're reading any articles, please start doing these mini summarizations, and I think they will absolutely help you in the entire section.
Absolutely, so true. I mean, even in the paper, if you are writing the paper
Absolutely.
at the side of the, in your rough sheet, if you write down those para
That
summaries,
makes it so
makes it so easy.
Yeah, easy.
Then to refer back to the passage, to go where you want to go, it makes your life absolutely hell easy. Anyway.
So on that note, I think we had a fruitful discussion. I really
Absolutely.
hope everyone found it fruitful. So if you have any queries, any questions that we can help you out on, please feel free to write in the comment section, and we will be more than happy to help.
Alright, thank you. Thank you
so
guys
much.
for joining in. I hope this session was useful. We'll come back to you with one more. See you soon.
See you.